Chapter 4. Double Taxation Relief. As discussed, as discussed in Chapter 2, most countries tax their residents on their worldwide income and non-residents on their domestic source income. As discussed in Chapter 2, most countries tax their residents on their worldwide income and non-residents on their domestic source income. Consequently, foreign source income earned by a resident of a country may be taxed both in the country, may be taxed both by the country in which the income is earned, the source country, and by the country in which the taxpayer is resident, the residence country. If income tax rates are low, as they were in the early years of the last century, when income taxes were in their infancy, the ineffectiveness and unfairness caused by this double taxation might have been tolerable. Consequently, foreign source income earned by a resident of a country may be taxed both by the country in which the income is earned, the source country, and by the country in which the taxpayer is resident, the residence country. If income tax rates are low as they were in the early years of the last century, the income taxes were in their infancy, the ineffectiveness and unfairness caused by this double taxation might have been tolerable.
Infancy. Infancy.
Infancy. Tolerable.
Tolerable.
Tolerable. Tolerable. Tolerable. Tolerable. But when tax rates reach the levels that now prevail, prevail, that now levels that now prevail. Double taxation burdens can become onerous. Double taxation burdens can become onerous and interfere 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 onerous can become onerous and interfere substantially with international commerce. Commerce. The necessity for the relief of international double taxation is clear on the grounds of equity and economic policy. However, the types of relief that is appropriate is controversial Question. It's a controversial question. If the income tax rates are low as they were in the early years of the last century, when income taxes were in their infancy, the ineffectiveness and unfairness caused by this double taxation might have been tolerable. But when tax rates reach the levels that now prevail, double tax burdens can become onerous and interfere substantially with international commerce, commerce. As a necessity for the relief of international double taxation is clear on the grounds of equity and economic policy. However, the type of relief that is appropriate is a controversial question. International double taxation can arise in a variety of ways. In a variety of ways. In a variety of ways. The following three types of double taxation arise from overlapping claims by two or more countries to impose income tax on the same taxpayer on the same income. Source claims. Source claims. Residence claims. Residence source claims. Source claims. Source claims. Two countries assert the right to tax the same income of a taxpayer because they both claim that the income is sourced in their country. Residence claims. Two countries assert the right to tax the same income of a taxpayer because they both claim that the taxpayer is a resident of their country. A taxpayer that is a resident of two countries is commonly referred to as the dual resident taxpayer. Source claims, residence claims, residence source claims. One country asserts that the right to tax foreign source income of a taxpayer because the taxpayer is a resident of that country, and another country asserts the right to tax the same income because the income arises or has its source in that country. Arises or has its source in that country. One of these three types of international double taxation, overlapping residence source claims are the most likely to occur. To some degree, taxpayers can minimize their exposure to the other types of double taxation through careful tax planning. But the residence source double taxation is difficult for taxpayers to avoid through tax planning. Therefore, the attempts of the international tax community to deal with international double taxation have focused primarily on the elimination of residence source conflicts. International double taxation can also occur due to differences in the way countries define income and the timing and the tax accounting rules they adopt for computing income, as explained in Chapter 6. International double taxation may also occur due to disputes between countries about the proper arm's disputes. Okay, due to disputes between countries about the arm's length, arm's length price for cross-border transfers of goods and services between related parties. Of these three types of international double taxation, overlapping residence source claims are the most likely to occur. To some degree, taxpayers can minimize their exposure to the other types of double taxation through careful tax planning. But the residence source double taxation is difficult for taxpayers to avoid through tax planning. Therefore, the attempts of the international tax community to deal with international double taxation um, have focused primarily on the elimination of residence source conflicts. International double taxation can also occur due to differences in the way countries define income and the timing and the tax accounting rules. In the timing and tax accounting rules they adopt for computing income. International double taxation can also occur due to differences in the way countries define income and the timing and the tax accounting rules they adopt for computing income. International double taxation may also occur due to disputes um, between countries about the proper arm's length prices for cross-border transfers of goods and services between related parties. Adopted other rules adopted to curtail other rules to adopt it for curtail tax avoidance. Curtail. Curtail. Tail. Curtail. To curtail tax avoidance. Curtail. Tail. To curtail tax avoidance can also produce double taxation. Other rules adopted to curtail tax avoidance can also produce double taxation. For example, if one country denies the deduction of interest paid by a resident corporation to a shareholder in another country pursuant to thin capitalization or earnings stripping rules and treats the interest paid as dividend. The amount may be taxable in both countries as a dividend subject to withholding tax in one country and as interest including the residence corporation's income by the other country. Capitalization. Capitalization. Pursuant to thin capitalization. Pursuant to thin capitalization. 什么东西啊 Thin capitalization. Thin capitalization rules apply 35% tax to interest and other related to payments to non-resident related parties, where the taxpayer is in a debt situation in excess of a ratio 3/1 debt to equity. 什么意思啊？ Thin capitalization. Capitalization. Thin capitalization. A company is said to be thinly capitalized when the level of its debt is much greater than its equity capital, i.e., its gearing or leverage is very high. An entity's debt to equity funding is sometimes expressed as a ratio. For example, a, a gearing ratio of 1.5 to 1 means that for every $1 of equity, the entity have $1.5 of debt. A high gearing ratio can create problems for creditors, which bear the solvency risk of the company, and the revenue authorities, which are concerned about the excessive interest claims. Revenue authorities, which are concerned about excessive interest claims. Thin capitalization. Alright. Thin capitalization. Thin capitalization. Thin capitalization. Capitalization.
If you want to capitalize on a sort of a new way of looking at health and work,
Capitalization.
have a market capitalization greater than the biggest
Market capitalization.
regard to the destruction in market capitalization of Aviva.
Market capitalization. 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 Capitalization.
By 5 times, and its market capitalization by $27 billion.
Thin capitalization. No. Thinly capitalization. No. Okay. Thin capitalization. Earnings stripping rules. For example, if one country denies the deduction of interest paid, if one country denies the deduction of interest paid by a resident corporation to a shareholder in another country, pursuant to thin capitalization or earnings stripping rules, and treats the interest paid as dividend. The amount may be taxable in both countries. And the amount may be taxable in both countries. The amount may be taxable in both countries. Resident country shall recognize its income. Resident country treat interest as dividend. So the residence country will recognize the income of this dividend. So this will be taxed in both countries. as the amount may be taxable in both countries as a dividend subject to withholding tax in one country and uh, subject to withholding tax in one country as interest included in the resident corporation's income by the other country. Typically, tax treaties provide relief. Tax treaties provide relief from three major types of international double taxation, and from some of the other types as well. Although the relief is sometimes limited. Typically, the tax treaties provide relief. Tax treaties, okay. Typically, tax treaties provide relief from the three major types of international double taxation, and from some of the other types as well. Okay, and from some of the other types as well. Although the relief is sometimes limited. Some cases of double taxation resulting from overlapping claims based on the source of income are dealt with by explicit rules for the source of income. For example,
我哪去了？这戴着墨镜搁这耍帅呢，我开会。不是你说不说完？不说话我给读了。啊？你说不说完？不说话出声了。说话呀！ 啊？
我说你说不说话？不说话我出声了。
你不就不能不出声吗？等我开完会了。
行吧。
帮我拿。
Okay, let's go. International double taxation should be distinguished from the double taxation of an item of income by a single country, which might be termed domestic double taxation. Domestic double taxation may arise, for example, with respect to income earned by a corporation and distributed to its domestic shareholders under a so-called classical method of corporate taxation. It may also arise when tax is imposed on the income of a person by both the central government of a country and one or more of its political subdivisions. Double taxation by national and subnational double taxation by national and subnational governments is not necessarily objectionable. Indeed, when the levels of taxation are properly regulated to when the levels of taxation are properly regulated to avoid excessive tax burdens, such double taxation may be an inevitable. Such double taxation may be an inevitable feature of fiscal federalism, relief mechanics. Introduction. No international consensus.
Consensus.
No international consensus has been reached on the appropriate method for granting relief from international double taxation. No international consensus has been reached on the appropriate method for granting relief from international double taxation. The following three methods are in common use. A country may use only one of these methods, or it may use some combination. Some combination of methods. Most countries use all three methods for different types of international double taxation. Deduction method. The residence country allows its taxpayers to claim a deduction in computing income for taxes, including income taxes paid to a foreign government, in respect of foreign source income. Exemption method. The resident country exempts from residence country tax foreign source income derived by its residence. Credit method. The residence country provides its resident taxpayer with a credit of income taxes paid to a foreign country against the residence country taxes otherwise payable. Under the credit method, foreign taxes are deductible in computing the tax payable to the residence country, but not in computing the taxpayer's income. Deduction method: the residence country allows its taxpayers to claim a deduction in computing income for taxes, including income taxes paid to foreign government in respect of foreign source income. Exemption method. The residence country exempts from residence country tax foreign. The residence country exempts from residence country tax foreign source income derived by its residence. 你看，这人家讲清楚了吧？ Deduction, exemption, 还有 tax credit 都这三个怎么用中文翻译？免税怎么说？ 这三个里边免税，这个收入是免税的，用 deduction 还是 exemption 还是 credit 呢？完了，应该用 exemption，这个收入是免税收入，应该用 exemption。deduction 是从税基里扣出去，是税前减免。deduction 这叫 deduction。tax credit 是直接减税。那你就说就完了。
tax credit 我不知道。
tax credit 就是直接
这俩我知道。
直接是税后的税直接减税。饿了说话啊。Foreign source income earned by residents of a country. Foreign source income earned by residents of a country that uses the deduction method. The deduction method is taxable at a higher effective rate than it would be under either the credit method or the exemption method. Foreign source income earned by residents of a country that uses the deduction method. Deduction method is taxable at a higher effective rate than it would be under either the credit method or the exemption method. The exemption method and the credit method typically give equivalent results whenever the effective foreign tax rate is equal. Whenever the effective foreign tax rate is equal to or greater than the domestic effective tax rate. The exemption method is generally the most favorable to the taxpayer when the foreign effective tax rate is less than the domestic effective tax rate. The basic results under the three methods are illustrated.
还是马修休假
illustrated
啊？
啊，
我说还是马修休假及时啊？
是
他今年都休11天了。
illustrated by the following
他休11天了。
我不敢想象。
我也不敢想象。
现在我差不多休个11天了已经，我这休了5天。
我有休5天就不错了。
我已经休了至少7、8天了。
哦，还是马修
Foreign source income earned by residents of a country that uses the deduction method. Foreign source income earned by residents of a country that uses the deduction method is taxable at a higher effective rate. Using the deduction method is taxable at a higher effective rate than it would be under either the credit method or the exemption method. The exemption method and credit method typically give equivalent results whenever the effective foreign tax rate is equal to or greater than the domestic tax rate. The exemption method is generally the most favorable to the taxpayer when the foreign effective tax rate foreign effective tax rate is less than the domestic effective tax rate. 没懂啊 The basic results under the three methods are illustrated by the following example. Example R is a resident of a country A, earns 100 of income from country B, on which she pays 40 of tax to country B. Okay, earns 100 income from country B, and she pays 40 of tax to country B. Under the deduction method, R will pay tax to I will pay tax to country A on net income. I will pay tax to country A on net income of 60. The foreign tax paid to country B of 40 is deductible in computing R's income subject to tax in country A. Assuming that R is taxable in country A at a rate of 50%, she will pay tax of 30%. She will pay tax of 30 to country A and a total tax of 70 on her income of 100. A combined foreign and domestic rate of 70%. A combined foreign and domestic rate of 70%. 70%. If a country A uses credit method, R's tax liability to country A before any foreign tax credit will be 50% on her total worldwide net income, with no deduction for taxes paid to country B. However, she will receive a credit against the tax otherwise payable to country A for the taxes paid to country B of 40. The foreign tax paid of 40 is deductible against the tax payable to country A. The result is that R will pay tax to country A of only 10, and a total tax of 50, a combined foreign and domestic effective tax rate of 50%. A combined foreign and domestic effective tax rate of 50%. Finally, if country A uses the exemption method, R will pay no tax to country A in respect of the foreign source income earned in country B, and the total tax payable on the income will be 40. A combined foreign and domestic rate of 40%. Exemption. Exemption.
你嗓子有问题啊？
他妈开着空调有点干的嗓，关了。Exemption. Additional information on the operation of deduction, exemption, and credit methods is provided below in sections respectively, and the exemption and the exemption and credit methods are compared in section examines some of the effects of tax treaties on double taxation relief. 哎呀，我的妈呀！今天能把这章看完吗？这么多，够呛。Deduction method. Deduction. Countries using the deduction method tax their residents on their worldwide income and allow those taxpayers to take a deduction for foreign taxes paid in the computation of their taxable income. Countries using the deduction method tax their residents on their worldwide income and allow those taxpayers to take a deduction for foreign taxes paid in the computation of their taxable income. In effect, foreign taxes, income taxes, and other type of taxes
小时候人家马修笑，人家还涨了500块钱呢呀。
are treated as costs.
他这 OT 是真没少报。
是 are treated as costs or current expenses of doing business or learning income in the foreign jurisdiction. Are treated as costs or current expenses. Are treated as costs or current. 他那个 AS 多少？15000有吗？
那倒没有，13680。
13000，跟我差不了几百块钱。
你多少来着？
我16000。
他就差几百嘛。
对啊，差不了几千块钱，说错了。
那废话。
他 YOS 几年啊？也是，哎，马上后来才来的。他 YOS 可能只有3、4年。
就比你晚，他是22年5月。
22年5月。
晚1年吧。
那晚。
他 LD 没准加上 LD，人家跟你差不了。
对，跟我差不了太多。
主要是他 AS 还涨500块钱了。这家伙这 OT 是真没少报。
Treated costs， 哎呀，其实他自己早就清楚了，因为他之前把7月份都报了，他10月份把7月份都报了。你想想吧，他还能不懂这个吗？Treated as costs or current expenses of doing business or earning income in the foreign jurisdiction. As noted above, the deduction method is the least generous method of granting relief. Least generous method of granting relief from international double taxation. Generous. Generous. Countries using the deduction method tax their residents on their worldwide income and allow those taxpayers to take a deduction for foreign taxes paid in the computation of their taxable income. In effect, foreign taxes, income taxes, and other types of taxes are treated as costs or current expenses of doing business or earning income or earning income in the foreign jurisdiction. As noted above, the deduction method is the least generous method of granting relief from international double taxation. The deduction method was used by a number of countries in the formative. The deduction method The deduction method was used by a number of countries in the formative. Formative. A number of countries in the formative years. Formative. Former 之前的，是不是这意思？形成的 formative years. The deduction method was used by a number of countries in the formative years of their tax systems when worldwide tax rates are
它
low.
是不是只能按3.5算？
LDE 啥时候？
不知道。
不知道你给啥按3.5算？
他到今年5月才3年。
今年5月才3年，
对啊。
那不是2.5吗？
啊？
今年5月才今年2025年5月才3年。
对啊。
2025年5月才3年，那就是
现在是3.5。
不是到1月它不就那啥了吗？到1月就4了。
哦，他只要超过，他会四舍五入。
对啊。
那就是，那他得到哪儿什么时候才能4.5？
加半年啊，5月是他5月几号是入职的？
那就是到5月25他才4年。
只要过了5月25一下就是4年。不是。
没到5月25也是4年，因为他四舍五入了。他只有超过5月25才是4.5。
我知道，我说你到什么时候他是4？你现在他不是5月25入职吗？
对啊，那就是。
6月25、7月25、8月25、9月25、10月25、11月25，他只要他现在已经是了，他已经是4了。
现在是3.5。
已经是4了，11月底到10月底他就是4。
我说现在是3.5，没错啊。
现在是差那么几天。
不是，到11月，超过了11月25，它就是
4
约等于4。
不是约等，它就是4。
约等于4，它是超过3.5。
超3.5，你法律来讲就是4。
我就说约等于4嘛。
是，他只要25号之前他不
我说啥
不走他就是4。
我说他到明年他得超过5月25，他才能是4.5。我是说这个。
那他现在肯定就是4了，相当于他不可能这么快就裁了，因为至少1个月呢，知道吗？
不是，我是说他最多就是4了，因为他不可能。
我说的就是这呀。
他不可能超过5月25走了。
我说的就是这，他一定是4了。
你没说这句话。
我说他不可能是3.5了，因为现在不可能这么快就裁了。
我没说他不3.5啊，我说现在是3.5。
所以他必然是4。
对啊，因为他不可能超过4了。
是啊，那不咱俩说的一样吗？
你刚没这么说。
Formative.
Sessions are formative.
马小也能拿8万块钱。
羡慕，比我少拿3万才。
那也是3万呀，1/3呢，1/4呢。
马上也解脱了，就剩你们这倒霉蛋还得干活儿。怎么叹了一下气？说到你心坎上了。
Formative.
Relating to the time when something is starting to develop in character, and having an important influence on how they develop. Formative years. She spent her formative years in Africa. Initial. Formative initial, which means is initial. Alright. Formative years. The deduction method was used by a number of countries in the formative years of their tax systems. When worldwide tax rates are low, and at that time it was an acceptable approach. As tax rates increase in the post-war world in the post-world World War II, post-World War II, World War II period. However, most countries adopted whether the exemption method or the credit method as the basic method for relieving international double taxation. The OECD and UN model treaties authorize only the exemption method and credit method as methods for granting double tax relief. However, the deduction method has not disappeared. Several countries that have adopted the credit method have retained the deduction method as an optional form of relief and a way of dealing with foreign taxes that for some reason do not qualify for foreign tax credit. In addition, some countries use the deduction method for taxes paid with respect to income derived from foreign portfolio investments. In addition, some countries use the deduction method for taxes paid with respect to
12点了，做饭了。
饿了不早说。
我不饿，等你再吃肉。